The future is now. Finding the No-So has never been easier. Subscribe to us on our new YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok, and bookmark the new home for No Holds Barred, The Jenny Position, Wrestling Warzone, and all your favorite No-So podcasts at NorthSouthConnection.com. It's new year, new No-So. NorthSouthConnection.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next United States Heavyweight Champion, Ravishing Rick Rude!
There's nothing in my dreams, just some ugly memories. Kiss me like the ocean breeze.
Please welcome the newest members of the Dangerous Alliance, Arn Anderson and Larry Zbyszko!
Real be my lover, I will shiver and sing.
The world's greatest athlete and newest member of the Dangerous Alliance, the world's TV champion, Stunning Steve Austin!
Nothing left alive but a pair of glassy eyes. Raise my feelings one more time.
Please welcome one of Sting's best friends and a little stinger himself, ladies and gentlemen, beautiful Bobby Beaton! It's not a lineup, it's not an army, it's not a stable, and it's not a family. It's an alliance of businessmen who will bring WCW down to its knees.
North-South Connection, welcome to episode number 12 of the 7 Months of Danger podcast. I am your host, Sean Kidd, and tonight we are talking Clash of the Champions number 18, and I am joined as always by my co-host and our special guest tonight who joins us for all our pay-per-views and our clashes. Up first, Mr. Scott Shiflett. How are you tonight, Scott Shiflett?
Sean, I'm glad to be here, glad to have everyone here, and also the Clash is now legal age, so we can take her out on a date.
God damn it, right out of the gate. Yes, the Clash is now legal. Thank you, Chef. Matt Souza, how are you tonight?
Jesus H. Christ, how am I supposed to follow that? Good to be here.
There is no following that unless you're drunk or high or whatever. Yes.
You're right, so I'm not even going to try. Good to be here.
All right, welcome, Matt. Logan Crossland, how are you tonight?
Well, I didn't get my name twice, like Scott Shiflett. Okay, but no, I'm good. I'm good to be here. Happy to be here with you guys. So, looking forward to it.
Did I say Scott Shiflett twice?
Yeah, you did.
How did that happen?
I don't know. But you had a stroke or something.
All right.
I heard my name somewhere in there, so I talked.
All right, Logan Crossland, thank you. And last but not least, our special guest for all our clashes and our pay-per-views, Jacob Williams. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. Little Kerry Von Erich situation. The Texas tornado, not the the drug abuse.
Did you lose a foot?
Did you lose a foot?
The tornadic activity. Maybe you said Scott's name because he has so many double letters in his name. What's up with all the double letters, Scott?
Oh, it's double S. Double S.
Yeah.
Double T, double F, double T again.
Jake,
I got nothing.
I feel like, hey, Jake, I feel like on the Impact Pod, haven't you recorded in like storms and tornadoes before as well?
I think so. Well, I think Lewis was the one that was always known for having like it always sounded like he had like, in school, if you had to put on like a play or something, you would get like, what would you use for that? Like a piece of tin and like, like wiggle it. I feel like it was Lewis all the time that was in the middle of a rainstorm. And I guess Logan as well, because they, until recently, both lived in the same area.
It's tradition to have a biblical storm happen while a podcast recording goes on.
Well, hopefully Jake will be able to join us for the whole podcast and doesn't blow away and is in Twister Part 2. So Jake, wish you well.
I can always strap my JCPenney belt to a post and I'll be fine. So
perfect.
All good.
All right, perfect. All right, awesome. So tonight, like I said, we are talking Clash 18. Logan, before we jump into it, what has been so we are actually officially at the halfway mark of this podcast miniseries at episode 12. Logan, what is the best match we have watched so far in the history of this podcast?
It is from one of our previous clashes. It is Rhodes and Steamboat versus the Enforcers at 4 3/4. And then our worst match is Austin and Champion from episode number 8. So that was a dud. So, yeah.
I don't know if we'll ever beat. Well, we might beat that best match if we ever. Well, maybe, but I think that worst match is probably going to stand the test of time. Maybe we'll see. All right, and in our awards, who currently holds the title for the most dangerous?
Most dangerous is a tie between Paul Lee and Steve Austin.
Wow, Steve Austin
at 3.
Quite the come from behind victory because he was not on a good run there very well. And who is the least dangerous?
And with 5 least dangerous is Steve Austin. So,
all right, Jesus,
he has both distinctions.
I don't know how
that. That's not like an Anchorman thing. Like I have the least most dangerous man.
And that is the craziness of this
He's
podcast.
an enigma.
Only here can we have the most dangerous and least dangerous all in the same fucking show. Whatever. All right. So before we jump into the clash, I am going to go to our Meltzer notes, and these are from January 20th of 1992, and we had quite the happening here before the clash. So I am going to jump into it, and I'm going to ask here and there for your thoughts from random folks. Are you guys ready for this? You ready?
Yes.
All right. World Championship Wrestling Executive Vice President Jim Herd resigned Wednesday from the TBS organization after losing what appears to have been a him or me go struggle with Booker Dusty Rhodes. While it has been reported as a resignation, and technically it was, WCW overseer Jack Petrick apparently asked her to take a non-wrestling position in TBS syndication on Wednesday. I don't even know what TBS syndication would be, but I guess that would mean he would oversee Saved by the Bell. I don't know. Hurt turned down the switch, offered his resignation, and by week's end had moved from Atlanta, where he'd been residing during the week, to his full-time home in St. Louis. Matt, before I move on, any initial thoughts about Jim Herd and going and not taking TBS syndication and getting the fuck out of Dodge?
I guess Jim Herd didn't want to program all those Charmed reruns, but Jim Herd, notable for being one of the biggest dumbasses to ever have any semblance of power in pro wrestling. So Godspeed, you dumb fucking idiot.
All right, I like the Charm. My wife, very big fan of Charmed, by the way. So she
more like Jim Turd.
Jim Turd. Wow. All right, we got more coming on Herd here. Herd took over as the man in charge of WCW 3 years ago. The 3 years could be best described as unsuccessful in most aspects of improving both the visibility and popularity of the nation's #2 wrestling promotion. Herd will be replaced as executive vice president by Kip Fry, 38, a TBS attorney with even less wrestling background than Herd entered the job with. However, there is some optimism in the WCW camp with the belief that Fry is going to leave the actual wrestling of the promotion in the hands of Rhodes and Jim Crockett and just concentrate on legal and financial aspects of the company. Schiff, I'll go to you. Any thoughts on Kip Fry and Jim Crockett taking over for Jim Herd?
Well, it's got to be a step up. And also, a lot of the wrestlers look back and enjoy Kip Fry, and he's forgotten about the history because you have Herd come in, and then as we see towards the tail end of this pod, when we're done with it, not this episode, that Watts comes in, and like Kip Fry is seen as the buffer, and Watts WCW sucked, and Herd's WCW had a rocky start, but was sort of coming into its own, like at least creative wise, I think, as we're seeing with the Dangerous Alliance, but it wasn't coming into its own with making money. As if you go back and look and like read all observers, they're having like 1,100 people.
Yep.
And lower, and like no one buying pay-per-views and stuff. It was abysmal.
Absolutely. So more on Fry. Fry is a graduate of Duke Law School who had worked in private practice in both California and North Carolina before taking a job at TBS as an attorney in April of 91. He had worked with WCW in a number of legal situations, the most high profile being the attempt to regain control power of the NWA and thus regain the old belt back from Ric Flair after he had joined the WWF. He didn't have a lot of success with that, so I don't know what makes him think he could fucking run a wrestling company. He couldn't get the belt back from Flair. It was heavily speculated at the end of the week, including by Hurd himself, that the straw that broke the camel back was when WCW lost Ric Flair. Original reports from the company were that Hurd resigned because he was frustrated with his inability to get the company competitive with Titan Sports. While there's already been criticism of appointing another chief officer who has no pro wrestling background, some feel Fry will handle the position better than Hurd, who became well known within the office for his sometimes volatile personality. I'm hoping Kip Fry knows enough to know he doesn't know anything, said one person associated closely with key WCW personalities. For 3 years, we've been watching this thing fall apart. Another WCW office employee said of Fry, he's a very intelligent person and not intimidating like Hurd can sometimes be. The higher-ups were frustrated that the company couldn't turn a profit. Jake, before we move on, any thoughts on Fry and Hurd and what you just heard?
Yeah, I mean, I think Fry is kind of considered a babyface in this just because people hated Jim Hurd so much. Like, I guess you guys will go through it and see like how successful he really was. But I feel like his reputation was kind of like a player's coach is the best comparison I would say. Like everybody hated Jim Hurd, at least like even though he is just kind of another corporate guy that they're bringing in who's like just a lawyer who knows jack shit about wrestling, he at least seemed to be aware that he was a lawyer that didn't know anything about wrestling. It was kind of open to listening to people who are better, which is not, the worst management philosophy, I guess.
Absolutely. Better to have a lawyer probably than a Pizza Hut guy running the company, I guess. All right, so Logan, I'm going to run through the rest of this on the Fry and Hurd stuff, and then I'll have you comment before we get to the rest of the news. So apparently, TBS ordered a report on the wrestling company after 3 years of heavy losses, thought to have been in the $19 million range. After top-to-bottom interviews with the company management, the report came out that Hurd was a minus and was cited as not getting along with people. You think? After the resignation, Hurd reportedly went to a steering committee meeting and heavily blasted Rhodes, Jim Ross, and Magnum TA. Although, according to several reports, he praised Jim Crockett and said he felt sorry for having to deal with the other three. According to those close with Hurd, he said he felt that he had tremendous weight, had been lifted off his shoulders, and that his job at the WCW head was the hardest job he had ever had, and not in terms of workload, but in terms of pressure. He came down hard on Ross, Rhodes, and TA, and blamed the Flair situation for ultimately doing him in. Hurd apparently said that he felt Flair was the greatest wrestler that there has ever been, but his demands were too high, but that losing him was the biggest mistake made in the company without going from there. With no shit, Sherlock. While there has been much talk within the company of regaining Flair over the past week, our reports indicate Flair has an ironclad 2-year contract with Titan Sports through September of '93, which we all know does not pan out that way. Fry has scheduled a press conference and introduced himself to the wrestling media for January 22nd in Kansas City, the morning of a television taping after the Clash from nearby Topeka. We, however, will see him tonight on the Clash. He's taken over an organization that has a degree of momentum built up from a television and arena product that has made significant improvements since the steering committee was formed, and Jim Crockett has assumed a more influential role. Crockett was responsible for bringing back Crockett was responsible for bringing back Rick Steamboat, Rick Rude, and Paulie Dangerous to the organization, all of whom have been key figures in a revitalization. However, the minor upswing has come nowhere near making up all the popularity lost since Jim Crockett promotion hit its peak in 1986. Nor even since TBS purchased the company from a financially drained Crockett in late 1988. This is amazing. We're all praising Crockett here. This is also a guy that fucking sunk a company in 1986. This is great. Anyway, so Logan, any final thoughts here before I go to the other news that's going on here on this whole entire situation?
Just a big mess with the whole Hurd thing. I mean, he's obviously an idiot. Everybody hated him. I do think probably Dusty and Jim Ross and all those guys are probably harder to get along with than we think deep down. But I think it was more of a Hurd problem than it was any of them problem. And like the other guys have said, Fry isn't a wrestling guy per se, but I think he understands that, and he'll kind of dole out responsibilities of handling creative to people that know what they're doing.
Yeah, here's what's popping me right now. So the people that are technically running this company now, Jim Crockett, Dusty Rhodes, Magnum TA, and Jim Ross. So
was this 1987?
So let's think about this. The committee, the people that put the UWF out of business. The people that put Jim Crockett Promotions out of business are now running WCW in 1992. What are we doing? Sounds like
they just can't get out of their own way.
It just sounds like we're setting up for failure no matter what we do. All right, moving on. So goodbye and so long to Jim Herd. All right, moving on. Apparently, Jushin Liger will definitely be at the 229 pay-per-view and probably going to be against Brian Pillman. Liger is expected to make frequent appearances in WCW this year. We will see how that plays out. The reason there is all the NWA talk is they were talking about doing the NWA versus WCW Unification World title match again. As we had previously reported on this show, they were talking about doing a unification match between Jerry Lawler and Lex Luger, which blew my mind. They haven't decided who the new NWA champion will be, but the name Kijo Muto, who, by the way, as of this recording, just did his retirement match in Japan, just seems to have magically appeared on the page in this sentence. So I think I'll go back to Souza. Souza, any thoughts on this NWA WCW unification? And instead of Lawler, going with the Great Muta. Any thoughts on this?
Look, anybody's an upgrade over Jerry Lawler, as far as I'm concerned. In 1992, like you put that Lawler Luger match, I'm almost certain would have been absolutely terrible. And having Keiji Muto, who is of course Great Muta, there makes sense to me. He's one of the biggest names in Japan. It is weird to see him as NWA champion, but yeah, I'd be very surprised if this is a thing that actually happens. But we'll see.
NWA champion for an NWA, that means jack shit at this point. Probably right. At this point in time, as much jack, well, maybe not as much jack shit as today's NWA.
No, nothing's this bad.
Yeah, not even close, but yeah. Okay. TV ratings for the past 2 weeks saw on 12/28, WCW drew a 2.3, well below what it had been doing, probably due to the NFL. By the way, you kill for a 2.3 today, right? And the following week, it fell to a 2.1. Fucking main event at a 1.8. One of its all-time lows, and a 2.5 respectively. Power Hour did a 1.9 and 1.8. Could you imagine wrestling on a regular basis doing these kind of numbers today? I'll go to you, Schiff. Pretty fucking good numbers for like syndicated TV.
Yeah, and it's crazy that they're seen as bad numbers, but it's just a product of the time. And also today with like television and not that many people having cable and watching it in alternative ways. Like, I think the numbers are antiquated, but you know, it's just funny to look back at these things and Meltzer's like, oh my God, everything's in the shitter. Oh, like WWE for Raw 1000 got a 2.34. So like, think about that. And they were touting that as the highest in months. So
yeah, Saturday night at a main event on a 1.8 on a Sunday night. I mean, that's anyway. All right. This one will go to Jacob because he was on this show with us. Latest estimate for Starrcade 91, which is Scott Shiflett's greatest show of all time, did about a 1.1% buy rate, which would translate into approximately $3.4 million total gross, of which TBS WCW share would be about $1.4 million. Jake, any thoughts on this buy rate and this dollar amount?
Scott got his money's worth. We know that. I'm trying to think. Would this be? I'm trying to think of the time. I mean, is this?
It seems. I mean, it doesn't.
Yeah, it seems all right, right?
It's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A 1.1 sounds pretty solid for WCW in 1991. So good for them. That now the thing would be like, is it going to affect them later on? Are people going to be like, last time they had Starrcade did this fucking bullshit battle royal thing, so maybe I'm not going to shell out next time. So who knows? Maybe it's, I guess I was saying was like, I wonder how much it was a Starrcade name that buy rate's based off of, as opposed to the quality of the show. Because like once you buy it, I mean that's it. I mean you could hate it after, you're not getting your money back.
Yeah, it's certainly not based on the lethal lottery. I mean, I guess it has to be. Well, you know what? Honestly, it could have been because it was a new thing, new gimmick. Starrcade name, so it could all be encompassing. I'd be curious to know what the next pay-per-view buy is. It's Super Brawl, so when we get Super Brawl, I'll be curious.
Maybe Schiff ordered it 340,000 times on his own,
or maybe it was because they wanted to raise. It was all the money that everybody knew they were going to raise for whatever that fucking charity was that they couldn't figure out at the time. If you guys remember that,
skim the money off the top, man.
Yep. All right, Logan. Next one goes to you. Steve Austin blew out his knee and is out of action. No word for how long, although he's not expected to miss the Clash. Scott Steiner also missed a weekend with a serious case of the flu. PN News missed some shows because of a bad hip, probably because he's fucking fat. And Paulie Dangerously didn't miss shows, but was suffering from pneumonia at the last tapings. Any thoughts there, Logan, on all that?
Oh, hell, son, I'm just going to rub some dirt on it, and then I'm going to come to the Clash and whoop some ass. But no, at Pia News having a bad hip, I'm sure he said, ow, baby, ow, when he walked around for the preceding
Pia News
weeks.
has had a lot of problems because on our last episode, he got in a fist fight with Rick Rude and got the shit beat out of him. So Pia News having some issues lately.
I'm shocked with his physique that he has hip problems. I cannot believe
They need to have some hand sanitizer in the backstage, apparently, though, because flu and pneumonia, not good stuff.
But look at us. Yeah, look at us. We're a bunch of pussies with COVID. Look at these motherfuckers stuffing it out. I'm just saying. All right. Next one. Oh, here we go. All right, Susan, we get you the Van Hammer one.
Oh,
Van Hammer will be sent back to school, so to speak, after the Clash and brought back when he learns how to wrestle. You fill in the punchline here, but seriously, it seems to show the company is interested in providing a good product. Either that or they come to grips with the fact that Hammer and Oz are major flops. Well, it's not like nobody told them ahead of time. Susan, any thoughts on Van Hammer and Oz?
Well, the joke's on WCW because Van Hammer would never learn how to fucking wrestle. So,
what about that guy Oz? I hear he kind of sucked too.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll ever turn into anything.
I don't know if he'll. Ironically, Van Hammer makes it to the very end of WCW.
He sure does, and he sucked every time. He sucked for 10 years.
All right. So does Oz.
So does Oz. Oz makes it a long way too. Ironically, I guess going back to school worked out for both of them.
Yeah.
All right, Schiff, Scott Norton is coming in, but we don't know when.
Yeah, we would have to wait till second episode of Nitro for that, because spoiler alert for you guys, he was also supposed to be Sting's opponent at Slamboree 93, and that turned into be the former Nails.
I think that turned out very well for us.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Jake, this one's for you. Jason Hervey of the Wonder Years was a star on Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous that aired this past weekend in syndication. Missy Hyatt was on the show and called a sports commentator out of Atlanta with no reference to wrestling except that they met at a wrestling match. Since Robin Leach has done worked segments with Ted DiBiase and Randy Savage, I guess that means he can't mention WCW. A clip of Ron Simmons also aired with the piece. Any thoughts on Missy Hyatt and Jason?
I want to see the Ron Simmons aspect of this. I don't know. I always I don't know. I don't know if he's a cool guy. I mean, a nice guy in real life, but he always bugged the shit out of me. The Jason Hervey stuff. I always thought he looked like a fucking, like he looks so much like he's trying to look like some Hollywood hotshot producer guy or something. And it's like, settle down. You're like a supporting actor on the Wonder Years, dude. Like,
I never got the whole Missy Hyatt Hervey thing. I was like the weirdest relationship ever.
It's very weird.
It's very, very strange. All right, Logan, short one on this. I don't understand this one at all, considering Medusa signed a contract on Friday. Help me understand this one. I don't get it. Logan?
Boo. I don't know. Just boo. I don't know. I don't have anything else to say.
All right. I love how that one worked out for you, considering you're the world's biggest Medusa, Mark. That worked out very well. All right.
Exactly.
All right, Schiff. This one will go back to you. Or wait, no, this will go to Sousa. Then we go to Schiff, I think. Barry Windham will be a heel by the spring to fill the void at the top left by Lex Luger leaving. It's way too soon to make that move, and it probably will wind up the same way Luger did, as being a dead fish. Luger is leaving, and it's no big deal because after all these years as being a major overheel and face, he's turned one time too many, and fans simply don't care about him, and his title reign was a waste, which has nothing to do with the ghost of Ric Flair. So any thought on Barry Windham backfilling Lex Luger when Luger leaves?
Yeah. I don't know why you would want to turn Barry Windham heel, as we're going to talk about later tonight, considering how over he is right now. Like, to even have that thought just tells you that, yeah, you could still take a guy like Jim Herd out, but there's still fucking stupid business going on backstage. That makes no fucking sense to turn him heel.
Yeah, Barry Windham, low-key, comes out of nowhere to be one of the top faces of the company, and it kind of starts tonight. So we'll talk about that here shortly. All right, Schiff, last note, last but not least. Dusty Rhodes will be back on television and involved in angles and bull rope to Paulie dangerously in house shows during the tag team title matches. Thoughts?
He should have stayed off TV at this time. I think he just does come back as an announcer, but I was shocked that they actually made him stop wrestling and he listened. So I'm glad he stayed away. And going back to the Barry Windham thing, like Susan said, it would have made 0 sense. And I'm not even sure if it happens. It may.
Any thoughts on Dusty being bull roped to Paulie dangerously?
I thought it meant like he just tied him up like a bull. I didn't realize they were tied together. That would be hilarious.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing one of those matches. That'd probably be entertaining. All right, so that is all the notes. So clearly a lot of stuff happening here. And that takes us to tonight, January 21st, 1992, Clash of the Champions 18, and we are in Topeka, Kansas. So we are going to talk about some of the other matches, and I will go from person to person here for random thoughts because I assume all of it. So I'll go to you first. So, Matt, I'll go to you first. You don't have to go line by line in the matches because I'll bring them up individually. I assume you have watched this entire show at some point or another, if not for this watch, correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
All right. Schiff, I assume you've watched this whole show.
Yeah, at some point.
Okay. Logan?
Yeah, definitely at some point. I did not watch through the whole show for this watch through, but I've definitely seen it at some point.
All right, good. I'll put you on the spot tonight. That'll be comfortable. And Jake?
Yes, I did rewatch it for this. I may have skipped the Be It News versus DDP match.
Okay.
Yo, baby, yo.
Well, you know what? I did watch the whole show. So if you did not watch, I did not qualify everybody on this show to watch every single match because this is about the Dangerous Alliance. So I will go around and I'll ask if anyone has any memory of some of these matches because some of these matches I have big memories of, especially our opening contest. So our opening contest on this show was the Steiner brothers defeating Big Van Vader and Mr. Hughes. As I was looking at the reviews for this, basically I'm going to tell you how the ending came up. So basically, Rick Steiner leaps off the top rope and nails Mr. Hughes with a bulldog. Rick covers Hughes and picks up the win. This one got 3 stars. I remember this one as being like a hard-hitting, just stiff fest between the Steiners, and they just beat the living shit out of each other. Sousa, I believe if I recall in conversation, you were a big fan of this tag team match as well.
Yeah, it's a great opener to this show. It's an awesome, like, Haas fight where it's all 4 guys really just throwing bombs. Kind of everything you want, or I would want out of an opener, which just guys beating the piss out of each other for like 10 minutes or so. Vader and Mr. Hughes, quite a weird tag team on paper, but super fun opener to this clash for sure.
Yeah, pretty random tag team here, especially especially considering in a few months where Vader ends up. It doesn't make a lot of sense, this tag team, but phenomenal. I mean, you just want to see, like, what do we call it? Meat slapping. This is a good meat slapping match. They just beat the shit out of each other. I won't go to anybody else because I know Sousa is probably the one that's like me, really enjoys this match. I am going on our next match, though. I am going to go to Scott Shiflett because it does have Starrcade 91 MVP, the tailor-made man in it, and I assume Scott Shiflett would like to talk about it. So it is Marcus Alexander Bagwell and Brian Pillman defeating MVP Starrcade 91 tailor-made man Terry Taylor and Young Pistol Tracy as a tag team. And it got 2.5 stars. Bagwell sunset flips Tracy and Pillman drop kicks Taylor into Tracy to allow Bagwell to get the win. Scott Shiflett, do you remember this match?
No, but it sounds like they were keeping the Starrcade gimmick up with this lethal lottery team right here. So
you probably would have gave it 4 stars, right?
Oh, 100%. But it's weird they kept Taylor as a heel despite him being a quasi babyface against Luger. That's very interesting and speaks of WCW.
Look, right, heel or babyface, he still sucks, so it doesn't matter.
All right, Logan or Jake, anything you would like to add about this probably potentially really shitty match?
Just seems like a heat up Pillman for his Liger stuff coming up. Like, just put him on a team with a win. But yeah, real random for sure.
I personally think it's a tragedy that Pillman's in this because to me it's more about them heating up Bagwell because they've gotten Bagwell recently involved with the Dangerous Alliance, and I think this is more about Bagwell than Pillman for me, and I think that's bullshit. Logan, what were you going to say?
I mean, it involves Pillman, so it's got to be at least pretty good. And as much as we shit on Terry Taylor, I feel like very few times we've seen him, he hasn't been all that bad. So I'm sure it wasn't too bad. I think Tracy Smothers is pretty good too. And Bagwell, at least at this point, isn't turn off television worthy. So I'm sure it was an all right match.
By the way, I wasn't joking about MVP Starrcade Terry Taylor.
Oh,
he really
I
was
know.
the fucking MVP. I was totally serious about that.
You're right.
That's why that show's not great because if he's the MVP, something's not right. So, all right, our third contest of the night, Johnny B. Bad defeating Ricky Morton. So Bad rolls through a crossbody and wins the match. This match only got half a star. Susan, any thoughts on this?
Half a star seems right. It probably was bad, and that's bad with 2 Ds.
All right. Very good. This next segment I remember vividly, and I'll give it 5 stars. Eric Bischoff interviews Brian Pillman and Johnny B. Bad. Pillman is focused on winning the WCW Light Heavyweight Championship. Pillman talks about growing up watching various Japanese wrestlers. Pillman is going to have the championship return to the United States. Bad basically offers nothing in an interview, and then he just randomly puts a lipstick sticker on Pillman's face. And then Pillman just proceeds to drop Bad with a huge right hand, like he just sucker punches him hard. This was 5 stars. Johnny B. Bad was an annoying piece of shit here, and Pillman just socks the shit out of him. Susan, do you remember this one?
Nobody puts a sticker of lips on my face.
Do you remember this segment, though?
Very vaguely.
This is a fantastic segment.
It's
do you remember
so
this,
strange.
Big? Do you remember this?
Yeah, it's very strange. So, like, it's weird that he's facing, that he's gonna be facing Liger, and this is the angle they take. Because like Liger's whole, it's not like he's some like nefarious foreign heel or something. Like, and he's not gonna talk to, like, respond to this. So it's just odd. And I know it was like a thing during this time frame, like people getting pissed off that like Japan was. I guess their economy was a lot better than us and the Japanese cars and stuff. But it's just an odd angle to take on a Jushin Liger feud with Brian Pillman.
Listen, the light heavyweight division was shit because really it was Brian Pillman and everybody else, and then Liger. So like I thought this segment was great because I hated Johnny B. Bad, so seeing him get the shit kicked out of him was great. I thought it was awesome. All right, our 4th contest. PN News defeated Diamond Dallas Page. News with a top rope body splash, and he pins Page. This one got 1 star. Scott Shiflett, you probably would have gone 4. What do you think? What do you think about this?
No, PN News sucks shit, and another double S. But yeah, and DDP, he probably had like steps 1 through 53 on how to do the match. I mean, it's real rich coming from me. I'm not a wrestler, but yeah, I mean. Just a horrible match. PN News sucks. Like, get him off my screen.
He really hasn't sucked in anything we watched we'll see a match here in the next few episodes where he really does suck. But
I just have to say, there's no way that PN News versus DDP was a better match than Johnny B. Bad, Ricky Morton. There's no way.
No. I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, I might disagree with you, but okay.
Well, you don't like Johnny B. Bad, so I mean.
I do not.
All
right.
You can throw DDP in the bag with Oz going nowhere.
And Van Hammer, yeah.
All right. Logan, I'm going to throw this next one to you. Top 10 in WCW. Number 10, Jesus. Larry Zbyszko. It's already wrong because he should be number 1. Number 10, Larry Zbyszko. Number 9, El Gigante. Number 8, Big Man Vader. Number 7, Dustin Rhodes. Number 6, Cactus Jack. Number 5, Rick Steiner. Number 4, Ricky Steamboat. Number 3, Steve Austin. Number 2, Sting. Number 1, Rick Rude. Any thoughts on this top 10?
Yeah, El Gigante being on this list at all makes it invalid. As always, Larry definitely should be higher. Dustin definitely should be higher. But yeah, just Gigante being on it at all makes it moot. So no reason for this to exist.
we have talked Gigante one time since October. Like, we started in October with this podcast with Halloween Havoc. We've seen him one time at Starrcade. I don't know how he's number 9.
I will say, the sadist in me would like to see a Lex Luger El Gigante match.
Oh God, did that ever happen?
Maybe it's because he's 9 feet tall. So he's number 9.
So he's number 9 for being Larry at number 10 is an absolute tragedy. Just a tragedy. All right,
you're right. He shouldn't be on the list.
All right, and you should go fuck yourself. All right. So this next round, I'm going to ask everybody's opinion on this segment because this is kind of like. So here's where we see our first Kip Fry appearance, but he also makes a bigger impact here because out of the blue, when I watched this part live when it first aired on 92, it shocked the shit out of me because I didn't see it coming. So Tony Schiavone welcomes, they call him K. Allen Fry, not Kip Fry, K. Allen Fry. So the man of three words, who now operates WCW. Apparently Fry has a contract for the next WCW World Heavyweight Championship match, and he announces that Luger has signed a contract. Fry has found a personality who will give Super Brawl 2 event some attitude. And it's Jesse the Body Ventura, which, again, at the time, just came out of nowhere. Because seeing Ventura in WCW was shocking for many reasons, and I'm sure many of you will state that when I get to you. Ventura says that WCW is the wrestling of the future. Ventura is back where he belongs, and it's in wrestling. Schiavone takes over and announces that Lex Luger, let me turn my page here, give me one moment, will defend his world title against Sting. Sting comes out and he gets fireworks to celebrate the announcement. Lex Luger has some words for Sting, which were pre-taped. And in this pre-tape, Luger looks like absolutely just jacked to the gills. Like literally his shoulders go up to his ears. Like you can tell he's like all roided out. Luger says he's basically chose to be an exile for WCW as he needs to concentrate for his match with Sting, when in reality is he's already used up all his fucking dates. I think we all know that now. Luger says that Sting will just be another chapter in his career. Sting signs the contract, and there's the ring to play to the crowd. And again, like I said, Luger looked very, very bloated in this promo. So, Susan, I'll go to you first. Thoughts on Luger, Sting for the world title at Super Brawl, and of course, the shocking debut of Jesse the Body Ventura.
Well, you know something, Schiavone. It's great that WCW is the wrestling of the future. Well, for at least another 8 years or so. I think Sting and Luger make sense. I'll have some thoughts about the whole Sting stuff later on in the show about what's going on with him. But yeah, they got to get the title off Luger, and I guess Sting is probably the best guy to do it at this point. So good on them for getting that slug shit Lex Luger to agree to come to Super Brawl 2, because we know in reality he probably really didn't want to do anything. So good on that. But it's a match that makes sense. Any thoughts on his arms looking like they were coming out of his ears at this point? I think his arms always looked like that, but especially at this point. He was super on the juice. Absolutely. Shiflet, any thoughts on Luger, Sting, and Jesse the Body debut?
Well, since we're, I know we make jokes all the time, but I'm on a little bit of the younger side. So growing up, I just knew Jesse just being as a WCW announcer. It wasn't until later on that I watched older wrestling and saw that he was, in the WWF, of course, and did great work. So him showing up and debuting has always been like, well, I'm just used to him and Tony Schiavone as, when I was younger.
Oh, so for you, WCW is like the normal thing because that's all you do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wow. I never thought of it. That's a good point. Okay.
So I was just like, oh, he's finally here type deal. And as for Luger, quote unquote, he's definitely not going to the WWF, guys. I mean, he's just in shape for no reason. He's not leaving.
Not at all. All right. Jake, how about you?
Yeah, it looks like if you poked Luger with a needle, he would pop and float away. He's so
and go,
excited. I like that they bring out old K. Allen Fry, because it's not like he's I
love the three name man, K. Allen Fry. I love that. It's not
right. It sounds like
Allen.
a DJ or something from the 50s.
Yes.
But yeah, because it's not like he's really going to be a character so much. It's not like he's super charismatic. But WCW would always do this. Whether the person is really an on-screen character, they feel the need to show these like this dude who just likes a plain ass lawyer guy.
Right. It's like fucking Harvey Schiller in the NWO days.
Right. And Harvey Schiller. But yeah, Ventura is interesting because it's you wonder, is it going to work? In the WCW, just their tone, but I think it's a big get for them because it's not like WWF didn't want Jesse. It just kind of they were in conflict. So I think it looks sort of good for them because it's not like a cast off. It's more like somebody, if anything, Jesse was the opposite. He was I don't need the WWF. I'm bigger than y'all, and kind of pieced out on him. So I think that's a cool gift for them to get somebody who's not it's like they're scraping the barrel or something like WWF cast off.
All right. Excellent. Thank you, Jake. And last but not least, Logan, your thoughts.
Yeah, getting Jesse is a big deal at this point. I think that's definitely an improvement in the commentating department. I think him and Schiavone do some pretty good stuff going forward. Him and Ross, maybe not so much, but I think that's more of them just not getting along with each other. Yeah, Luger looks like Jake said, if you poked him with a needle, he would get popped and just go, wow, like he always does.
So I feel like Luger, like I was going to say about Luger is, like, you guys ever seen Dr. Pimple Popper? You ever seen that show? I feel like if you were to pop Luger, he would be like one giant pimple, and all that would be less is a pus.
Jesus.
Are you calling Lex Luger and John like just
I feel like all would be left is like just Luger's skin husk if she were to pimple pop him. That's how
Luger's skin husk.
Available on www.shop.com.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, Logan. Go ahead.
K. Allen Fry is the most like infomercial lawyer name I've ever heard either, so that definitely fits in that. And Sting getting the title shot makes sense. But yeah, just a pretty good segment all around, kind of introducing Jesse and naming the title match for Super Bowl.
Yep, good stuff. Very good segment here. All right, our fifth contest, for me, one of my most probably underrated favorite Clash matches ever because of the chicanery at the end with Missy and Abdullah the Butcher, because I'm an Abdullah mark. The Cactus Jack, Van Hammer, Falls Count Anywhere match that ends up in the back. I love this match. Susan, do you remember this match?
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why they thought Van Hammer had to go to wrestling school because he had the best match of his career here. So I don't know what happened.
This match is absolutely hysterical. I believe Misty ends up in in a big like trough of water, or what is it? I try to. And then Abdullah ends up in this. This is just a really, really fun match. Probably one of the best matches actually on this card. It might be the second best match on this card. Would that be accurate? Maybe, Matt?
It's close, but yeah, it's close.
All right, Jake, you remember this match?
I do. This is where they end up in the stable, right? Or like with the horses or something.
It's like the Canadian. It's like the Stampede in the back or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Here in old Topeka.
Topeka Stampede.
The Topeka Stampede.
Yeah. It's like the rodeo or something going on in the back there. Yeah. Yeah. This one's. You remember this one, Shiflet?
Yeah, like you guys said, it's Van Hammer's best match. I just remember Cactus Jack yelling the whole time. So
yeah, this one's a lot of fun. So if you're going to go back and watch this Clash, and if you're only going to watch it for the Alliance stuff, I would go out of my way to watch this match.
Shift, please don't do that noise ever again.
I remember it too, Sean.
Okay, sorry, go ahead, Logan. Did you like this one?
I always remember the battling around the back and ended up in kind of like the stables, like Jake said. But it's entertaining for sure.
All right, this next match, none of us should ever watch again, but it's also memorable for another reason, because this is also the debut of the Freebirds and What Was Your Excuse music. If you guys, this is the debut of that song. So it is the Freebirds defeating Brad Armstrong and Big Josh with the debut of that awful, awful song. Sousa, as the biggest Freebirds mark in the world, any thoughts on this one?
Don't you attach my name to that. Jesus Christ. I'd rather put my nuts in a vice than watch this Freebirds match.
Well, they are Freebirds, and what was your excuse, Matt?
I don't have one.
All right. We're going to move on from this one because I don't want to talk about the Freebirds any more than I have to. All right. Up next, Eric Bischoff interviews the Steiner brothers. Then Rick talks about he talks justice, and they're coming after the Dangerous Alliance for the tag team titles. Scott says they will prove they are the best tag team in wrestling. So for me, it's good to finally see the Steiner brothers get in the mix, because we have not seen a Steiner's brothers tag team match or talked about one on this pod since we started it. And I'm finally glad to see the Steiner brothers getting involved. The next contest, we have talked about the debacle of Oz and Ozdini going back to school. Well, what about Vinny Vegas? Because he defeats Tommy Rich here. Shiflet, any thoughts on Vinny Vegas defeating Thomas Rich?
I think I used to fast forward through this match when I was younger, and I would have done the same today.
All right, Jake, any thoughts on Vinny Vegas?
I just like his yelling. Like when he's coming to, he's always got like a Larry thing, but I guess it's supposed to be like a Vegas like wise guy or something. I don't know, but he's just like, hey, come on.
Like when he's walking to the ring, he does that line. Yeah. He's like, yeah. I think I got it. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. All right. I actually thought Vinny Vegas was a good character, and I think they totally blew it. I think they could have done something with him, but yeah, I think he just became an afterthought. All right. So now we're going to jump into the meat and potatoes. So the rest of this show, we're going to talk about all of Dangerous Alliance, and it's going to start off with a fantastic interview with Eric Bischoff and Paulie Dangerously. So Paulie comes out, and it's a promo, and he says, from the start, every prediction he has made has come through. The board of directors has changed, which I thought was a really nice, timely dig at Jim Herd. The fall of Sting, the tag team titles have changed. Tonight, he predicts and he promises one of the top faces is going to be out for good and crippled forever. Then he talks about Wyndham with his crunched hand. Then he holds up the four fingers, and he says he couldn't hold up at his end of that organization. I love it when they say organization. I've said this before. They never say the Horseman. They just said he couldn't hold up his end of that organization. He calls Dustin the son of a putrid plumber, says Simmons' dreams were crushed day after a national holiday, and he'll be back in the ghetto, which doesn't age very well. Steamboat goes home and causes mental damage to little Ricky because he has to watch Dad's permanent disfigurement. And then he talks about Sting's nail in the coffin. And then he said, oh, my God. Then he says he's sending someone home to Magnum TA's retirement home. This freaking promo was wrong in all the right ways, and I probably shouldn't enjoy it in 2023 because of how wrong it was. But holy fucking shit, I loved every minute of it. Susan, what did you think of this promo?
Yeah, Paul was on fire here. I mean, he's always on fire, but this is like next level stuff. The highly racist things about Ron Simmons, of course, not being
very uncomfortable.
Jesus
very
Christ, yeah, like to the point where I'm kind of surprised they didn't scrub this promo segment from the network, from the cock, or whatever the hell you want to call it. He also, you missed this one, Sean. He also called Dusty a horse thief at one point. Which
I thought putrid plumber was bad enough.
But more amazing stuff from Paulie as per usual.
Schiff, any thoughts on this promo?
So this was 92, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, 1992. And guys, we're recording this after Raw 30. 21 years, and Paul Heyman is still one of the best promo guys in the industry.
It is a good time.
So sorry, 31 years. My apologies.
Yeah.
31 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the man cuts a mean promo. My God, this was amazing. And he was what makes Paul so great is he believes everything that he says. Like how he says, like every single prediction he's made since he came back has came true. And you know, he just eviscerates everyone. Yes, what he said was not politically correct, would not fly in 2023, but damn, like I wanted to see Paulie get his ass beat.
What do they say? The best heels always have a sense of truth to what they're talking about. By the way, goes with how his promo went last night. By the way, that opening, I know this is a totally different subject. That opening segment of Raw last night, probably one of the best segments in years. That was just unfucking believable, and Paulie is just amazing. Jake, what did you think on this interview?
Yeah, he was awesome. The permanent disfigurement was great. You could kind of see like it came off like an ECW Paul Heyman promo a little bit, like a little bit more in a WCW style, but it kind of had that more like, because in ECW would kind of do this where he'd always throw in these like, you know, where he's like trying to be edgy, where here I think he's just trying to be a heel, but it kind of had that kind of like he was going for this kind of scorched earth thing like he would do in ECW. So yeah, he was great here.
Yep. And last but not least, Logan.
Yeah, and pretty much promising the maiming and destruction of all individuals that come towards the Dangerous Alliance, and that one of them will meet their demise tonight. I love that he vaguely doesn't say who, but he implies that one of the people that his organization is taking on tonight, that they will meet their end of their career in wrestling. So yeah, just great stuff as always. Like Schiff said, he's still cutting amazing promos today. So it just shows how awesome he is that throughout 30 years he's been as amazing as he is. So just great stuff.
All right, so hold that thought, because this promo might impact how I feel about one of the matches we're going to talk about here shortly. So the first match we have with the Dangerous Alliance tonight, it's a 6-man. It is Dustin Rhodes, Barry Windham, returning finally from injury from the Halloween Havoc car incident. And Ron Simmons taking on Arn Anderson, Bobby Eaton, and Larry Zbyszko. Arn and Eaton won a tag team belts the previous Thursday in Jacksonville. It's a hot start with Eaton and Windham trading superplexes, which leads to all three faces getting figure fours on the heels. Ron Simmons goes full beast mode on Larry and Arn with a double shoulder blocking and clotheslining them, which was great. Dustin hits a dive-in clothesline over the top rope to the ramp on Eaton. Barry drop kicks Eaton off the top rope, and he takes a savage-looking fall. Dustin takes the face apparel spot after a missing dive, going to the ramp and getting hit with a phone. Then he eats shit on a spine buster, then a DDT. Eaton hits a great top rope elbow. Windham then eventually gets a hot tag. There's a top rope lariat to Eaton, then another lariat. All six in. Eaton goes up top, but Barry nails him with a hits him with the taped up hand for 3. Really great match. I wasn't too big of a fan of the end, but I thought this whole match was fire. I thought it was a great return for Barry. Dustin always is a great face in peril. And again, Simmons was just a beast and a really, really great heel work. After the match in the locker room with the faces, Wyndham doesn't give a damn what anyone says. He's kicking tail, starting with Larry because of what he did to his hand. Guarantees Larry and anyone involved with him will fall and be crippled forever. I think Wyndham comes out of this really standing up and looking like a top baby face going into where we're going to go in the future. And I thought it was a great return for him. I went 3.5 all in on this. I thought this was awesome, just top to bottom. Suze, I'll go to you first. What'd you think?
I'm right there with you. I went 3.5 on this too. Super fast-paced match, super fun start. It was quick. It was like probably 10 minutes or so, and they just went nonstop for the entire thing. This is kind of what I was expecting out of most of these tag matches, was stuff more in line with this. And what really worked for me with this too is that, and we've talked about it on past episodes, the formula of these tags. This did not meet that formula, and I think it was much better off because of it. Like, it's just they were doing different stuff in this match than we've seen, and I think it really worked for me. Like even something like the triple figure 4, I thought was just something different that added to this match, and the pace was fantastic, and yeah, just a super fun match. I'm kind of with you. I think the finish was a little weak with the punch, but I mean, with the rest of the match being as great as it was, I don't think it hurts it all that much. So yeah, great stuff here. 3.5 for me.
All right, Shiflet.
Yeah, I went 3.5 as well. Like, it's a great match. With the end with him hitting the cast, I like how they've all NWA and WCW was always big. Like if you hit someone with the cast, that was a KO, especially in the late 80s and the early 90s. Sean, as we used to see on Crock and Roll. So it was nice to see how I thought like cast would kill someone. So like when my stepbrother got a cast when he broke his thumb, I was like, oh, don't let him hit me with that, he'll kill me. But it wasn't that hard. But I just loved like Susan said, the trio figure 4s. I have that here. And I loved how Simmons caught Bobby Eaton when he was coming off the top rope with the bear hug, which I thought was awesome.
By the way, I know I talked about Barry Windham. Ron Simmons in this run against the Alliance, we've talked about. Ron Simmons has been really great too, by the way.
And that's really opened my eyes because I thought, growing up, like I thought he came out of nowhere to win the world title in I want to say like August, but like he's actually shown pretty well as like an upper mid card babyface here, and it's kind of forgotten its time. And I think it's because, spoiler alert, he's not in the Russell War match, and I'm really interested to see what happens with that.
I could tell you what happens. They put him with Junkyard fucking Dog.
Oh,
yeah.
And I just loved with like Barry hitting the lariat from the top rope to Bobby Eaton. It was just it was a fun, like Susan said, like chaotic match because they didn't have much time to work with. And also, Sean, when you brought up Barry Windham's interview, he said he has a short list of names he's going after, and he just says one, Larry Zbyszko, no names after that.
Yep.
And that's a short list.
It's like, I'm going to name my favorite person, A,
Larry
Jake, and it's like, what?
Hey,
Why Jake? What the fuck, man?
take that.
But Larry should
Just
be
like
the one
Barry
because he's the
Windham.
one that broke his hand. So I'm okay with it. So
I mean, Jake should be everyone's favorite person, but we'll move on.
all right. So speaking of our favorite person, Jake.
Okay.
Jake, what did you think of this?
Yeah, this was real fun. It was very frenetic. I like the figure 4 spot in the beginning with the all around the ring doing the figure 4. And Dustin, I mean, you guys have put him over a bunch, but I love Dustin as like the young face in peril. Like, especially with all these guys who are like veterans, I just think it elicits like natural sympathy to have him beat up by these older guys. I love all the little heel details, like Arn kicking from the apron and stuff, just trying to get any cheap shot he can. And I love the stooging by the enforcers is always great. Larry and Arn are both super good at it. So it really gets the crowd fired up when they take an ass kicking. And like you said, Sean, it's a good it's a cool match. And then it ends, it kind of has a storyline thing of like, Barry's back, motherfuckers, like with his cast and everything. So all that really well executed, a fun match. And like I said, drives the story forward. So I went 3.25. I thought it was damn good.
Awesome. And Logan, bring it home.
Yeah, I super enjoyed it as well. I went 3.5, like the rest of you guys. Obviously, great to see Wyndham back in the ring. I thought it was kind of weird that he got taken advantage of in the early part of the match just quickly, but Eden's offense kind of doesn't last long after that. Everybody's mentioned the trio figure fours. I thought that was really cool. I really like that spot. Simmons' athleticism is on full display as he kind of uses some real athletic moves getting out of an armbar at some point, and he catches and when he catches Eaton diving, like Schiff said, into the bear hug. The fans are super fired up for everything the faces do. I really like Dustin in this. His athleticism for his size is unreal. I really wish we could have seen Wyndham kick Zbyszko's ass a little longer in this match, but I think we're going to get that going forward at some point. I love that Larry even yells when he does his little drop downs to when the other person's running the rope, so he goes down and goes, oh yeah, and all this good stuff. But Rhodes misses the dive to the outside. I thought that looked pretty nasty. He does a great job taking heat from the heels in these tag team matches. And I thought the hot tag to Wyndham at the end was well done and the win. And he does not have a cast on, guys, because as Jim Ross says over and over again, it is a heavily taped hand. And he used that to gain the victory. So I thought that was smart. But 3.5 is what I went as well.
Yeah. So, really great return for Barry. Good shine for Dustin as the face in peril. Great shine for Simmons. Great heel work. Really, really great tag team match. So go out of your way to watch this match. This one's really, really great. So, and I think Matt said it. Not your typical trophy formula Dangerous Alliance tag team match. So really good stuff. All right. So it takes us to our main event. And our main event is Sting and Ricky. So, by the way, nobody here got crippled to the Magnum TA retirement home here, like Paulie said. So we'll see what happens in the main event. So our main event is Sting and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat taking on Steve Austin and Rick Rude. So there is no Medusa tonight. So Logan is happy about that. Number one. So I guess she had not signed the contract at this point yet. Let's see. So Ventura also joins Ross for commentary, and Ventura, as we all know, if you watched him in the WWF day, loves him some Rick Rude and jumps right in and says, based on Paul's promise tonight, Steamboat should be very careful. But then again, so should Sting because he has a title shot coming up soon. And then Rude comes on and says, tonight we are all cable watching couch potatoes. So Rude's, I find that Rude's commentary on what we are needs to kind of up its game a little bit because it's still very 80s stick. So I always bring this up, but I'm a couch potato now, and that doesn't really pop me. And they also make mention that these are the top 4 of the top 10 in WCW, so this should be a good match. Ventura jumps right back in the heel color guy without skipping a beat. Steamboat pummels Austin with chops. Steamboat gets multiple pin attempts and karate kicks both heels out of the ring. It's announced that the Steiners will meet 2 members of the Dangerous Alliance this Saturday. We will cover that on our next episode. There's multiple atomic drops to Rude from Sting, and of course, Rude always sells those like crazy. Then he gets clotheslined. Sting looks lost, then does a camel clutch. There's a boring clutch trade-offs by the faces. Sting later takes face apparel spot. His heels work him over with punches and a boring Rude face lock. Austin does hit a nice back suplex. There's a hot tag, which I thought was kind of lame. Not very hot, I think. And Steamboat takes on both heels with chops and noggin knockers. Rude nails Steamboat with a clothesline as he has Austin pinned with a forward roll. They then double team Steamboat, all 4 in the ring. Sting nails Austin outside. Austin throws him off the ramp and goes back to slay him. Steamboat as ref pushes Rude to the corner. Austin hits an absolutely terrible backbreaker, then lifts him up again, and seems like he waits forever for Sting to go up top to leap off on top of him, and ref counts 3 with both faces on top. Sting misses a stinger splash on Austin. Rude hits multiple awakens on Steamboat. They then whip Steamboat as Sting covers him. Alliance beats up the security. Jesse justifies this attack based on the illegal pinfall with both faces. By the way, he's not wrong. To me, the match was very meh. I thought the attack after was very meh as well, especially with the promise that Paul E made during the promo. There was no retirement home type of beating here, and I thought it was bullshit. I only went 2 1/4. I was very, very disappointed in this main event, especially coming out of that promo. I am going to go reverse. Jake, I'm going to go to you first. What did you think of this main event?
I'm a little higher on it than you, Sean. I do think Jesse immediately with this kind of brings some juice because you're so used to like just the way WCW's style is they don't usually have a strong or any heel commentator actually for a lot of this. Like a lot of times you're getting like Tony and JR, who are both like kind of dry baby face. I mean, I guess face if they're anything. So it's good to have Jesse when you have this like hot heel stable to immediately come in and be pro Alliance. So I thought that was good. At some the famous Jesse bearing Rice University too.
Yes. Yeah, that was
what has Rice ever done?
Yeah, that was
Shitty
really
to
great
go.
line. Yeah.
JR saying, what is it that Stone Cold's dad played for you? Oh, his father played for Rice. Like, who gives a shit, Ross? Rice sucks.
I don't remember the last time Rice was in a bowl.
Yes. Yeah, that was great.
I actually loved his restraint to not make a really racist, Oriental joke at that point. So,
but you know what? I took it as one anyway because it's Jesse. That's why.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right. I thought he was trying to flex to like, hey, I know about college football, even though I'm from up north. So I thought that was like, you never get used to Austin with that Thomas Jefferson hair. Like every time I watch these matches with these guys, like it just, you know what I mean? It always throws me off. Like I think even when he kind of gets more of like the shorter, but he's still got the full on ponytail, and it's very odd. But I thought they had a good heel face dynamic going. They kept the crowd into it. I like them mocking the heels and like working over Rude. Definitely a more measured pace than the balls to the wall of the match we got before this. And I agree with Jesse on the double pin. I think he kind of roasted, and the double pin was a little bit goofy. But I did enjoy I thought it was just a good old fashioned like end of clash melee, as they say, to close that out. So I thought that was fine. But I'm a little bit higher than you, Sean. I'd probably go maybe like a 3 on this. But yeah, I feel like this match is probably looked back on fondly, but it didn't really, like, I've seen this match be rated pretty highly, but it didn't quite get there for me.
Wow, 3. Man, I don't know what it is, man. I just thought this match was boring as hell. Rude, for me, I have not been impressed by Rude in anything. So I don't know. Logan, what about you?
Yeah, it wasn't. I'm kind of with you, Sean. I was kind of disappointed in Rude, as always. It seems to be with me and you on the spot. I thought there was a pretty good back and forth between Steamboat and Austin early. Steamboat then really kind of takes it to Austin for a little bit. Sting was kind of dumb at one point for not immediately jumping Rude after he kind of got away from his corner. Rude, always with the great atomic drop selling, was great. Just imagine, and I made the comment, just imagine if Rude did anything else as well as he does that. But the faces continue to completely dominate. Sting kind of starts taking it to Rude after that. I kind of like that the faces switched back and forth when the referee was turned, since we're kind of used to the Alliance doing that. So it's kind of good to see somebody else do that to them. Sting again is very dumb for coming in while his partner is in full control, which actually allows the heels to take over when the ref's back is turned. So another dumb Sting move. I liked the finish all right. I thought it was kind of cool, but I got to agree with Jesse at some point, because it was kind of bullshit if you are a rule follower in the world of professional wrestling. So Jesse's probably more on point. And then Steamboat seems to be the one that Paulie was talking about earlier, as they do the 2 Rude Awakenings to him and focus on his neck. So Steamboat seems to be the guy that maybe Paulie was referring to earlier. But I went 2.5.
All right, so before I move on, so based on that promo that Paulie cut, isn't that kind of an underwhelming beatdown they did as well, based on what you were expecting?
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
All right, okay. Schiff, what did you think?
Since like Paulie made how he started off his promo was saying like, all my predictions have become true. I think this was the first one where it didn't really take place.
Correct.
So we see like, oh, maybe the tide's starting to turn against the Dangerous Alliance, which I thought was nice. But for my thoughts of the match, I went in between you guys. I went 2 3/4. I thought it was a fun match, not as fun as the previous one. I'm not gonna lie, I did enjoy Rude shitting on the couch potatoes and sit back because I felt like he was talking to me. So.
Schiff's like, oh, look, Rude is channeling. He's looking at me. He's talking to me. That's how Schiff looked at it. Wow. Okay.
And all the top 4 contenders for the world title was in this match, which I thought was a nice touch. It brings the part to where the top 10 means something. As we saw AEW do that, and they seem to have gotten away with that in the past year. I think that might have been a Cody thing, to be honest, but I digress. And like Logan said, the atomic drop, Rude selling is great. Sting mocking Rude's hip swivel I enjoyed was great. JR called Paul Lee the psycho yuppie from Scarsdale at one point during this match, which I thought was great. Steamboat also mocked the swivel, and I love like Jesse losing his mind when Steamboat and Sting were doing the illegal tags. It was just, and I didn't really like the finish with Sting jumping off the top rope for a cross body block and the double pin on Austin. Wasn't a fan on that, but I did enjoy like the DA getting their heat back because Rude was just beating down security and whipping Steamboat with the belt. And as we've seen in the past couple of episodes, especially with the Starrcade episode, it seems like the main feud of the Dangerous Alliance has pivoted slightly from Rude versus Sting to Rude versus Steamboat, and I think that has to be done for what we have coming up at Super Brawl with Sting and Luger. But I like how they're still focusing on Sting and Rude, but it just seems like Rude's focusing more on Steamboat after being thrown out of the Battle Royal, because he hit those like 2 or 3 Rude Awakenings, and yeah, but it just seems like, so maybe Rude was like the main event heel, but he's like still upper mid card, but not like upper echelon.
All right, so you went 2 3/4?
Yeah.
All right, Souza, bring it home.
Yeah, I'm more in line with you guys. I thought this was pretty generic. I only went 2.5 on it. Quite a far cry from the 6-man we watched. I do think Jesse was great during all of this, calling out Sting and Steamboat basically for the entire match on all their double team bullshit. I thought he was fantastic during this. The thing that really struck me too about this is I feel like this could have been like on any episode of TV. Like it didn't feel like big enough to main event a Clash for me. Do you know what I mean?
We've
like,
seen matches on TV better than this, by the way.
Right. Like I feel like you could have seen this on like a Worldwide or something. So because of that, I think I would have done Sting and Rude here instead of this tag, because
like the blow off, right?
Right, because we never really got a big blow-off. Even if you want to make it non-title and you can have like a schmozzy finish with a DQ. And also, we haven't really seen Rude have a full-length singles match. He's only had squashes. And, we've all had our thoughts on Rude. He's kind of a guy who could use a good match at this point. So I feel like, you do Sting and Rude here as the main event, have that be like the final blow-off for those two, and then you throw Steamboat and Austin in the 6-man and make it an 8-man. Maybe you have a better show for me, or two better matches for me. But as is, I feel like this was kind of a downer way to end this Clash. So only 2.5 for me.
Yeah, it's if they had ended it with the 6-man, it probably would have been better. But I like your point. If they had done a blow off for Sting Rude, probably would have been better. And they probably could have done a singles match, even if they wanted to do like Sting versus Austin for the TV title or something. I don't know. They could have done something a lot different. But
even if you want to do Rude and Steamboat here, why not?
Yeah, well, whatever. Just this tag match just did not work. So, Logan, what was the final tally on that one?
2.6.
2.6. So, what was the final tally on the 6-man?
3.45.
All right. So, let's do the end of show awards. So, I mean, really, we only covered 2 matches. So, obviously, the best match is the 6-man, and the worst match would be the main event, right? So, we got that covered. So here's where I want to go. So, let's do least dangerous first. I'm going to start with me. Least dangerous for me, it's going to be Rude. And Rude for me, he's the leader of this whole alliance thing. And I have yet to see anything about Rick Rude that has impressed me yet. And something's got to give. I got to see something out of Rude to make me give a shit about him at this point, because besides his atomic drop selling, I am not impressed by him whatsoever. He's just going through the motions. His promos are going through the motions. His matches are going through the motions. I'm not feeling him. Matt, what about you? Least dangerous?
Yeah, I'm right there with you on Rude again. He's very much like a leader in name only type of thing. Like he's supposed to be the guy in the Dangerous Alliance, really, next to Heyman, and he hasn't really done anything. So it's a very weird situation. So yeah, I feel like you kind of have to go with Rude here.
All right, Souza. I'm sorry, Shiflet.
I'm going with Larry Z.
Okay,
because...
wait. How the
Sean's banned that.
Wait a minute. How the fuck are you going to go with Larry Z after that? I can't accept that. How are you doing that?
Host privilege.
No, it's not going to be a host privilege, but I need him to explain. He can choose whoever he wants.
Taskmaster Jim Hurd over here.
No. Schiff can
Right.
choose whoever he wants, but I need to understand.
I just
Jim Kidd over there.
I just felt in the match he was always on the defensive, and he has big ass 6 foot tall Barry, like 6'7" Barry Windham coming on his 5'4" ass. So gonna be at least dangerous. And at least Rude got some of his heat back by beating down security and whipping Steamboat and Sting with the belt at the end.
Goddamn, Schiff, you're on probation after this pod.
Wouldn't be the only 5'4" ass Barry's came
I'm
on.
pretty sure he
I
just
was
said
gonna let
Barry
it
Windham
go.
was coming on Larry Zaviz.
I was gonna let it go, but you jackals jumped on it anyway. So
I think Schiff's lost his fucking mind. Logan, what about you?
Rude is the definite answer here. Let Larry take his poor at best.
All right, Jake, what about you? Jake's like, oh, Larry.
No, I'm gonna go. I'm going Rude too, because I thought Larry. I didn't think Rude was particularly bad, but I just felt everybody else kind of carried themselves pretty well.
Mhm.
Like the Enforcers, I thought were awesome in the tag match, and Austin's kind of the young buck, so he's not really supposed to always stand. Like in that match, Austin is like the low man on the totem pole with Sting and Steamboat and Rude. And I think you said it well, Sean. Like he's still just cutting like his typical 80s Rick Rude pre-match promo. Like he should be doing more like what Paul Lee's doing and cutting these promos saying like he doesn't really even talk about the Dangerous Alliance. He just puts himself over and does the same shit he's been doing. He needs to kind of pivot more to like the badass leader, not just like the cocky heel.
Well, now I realize
It's
why.
hard to explain it.
Well, now I realize why Schiff picked him is because he said he connected with him by calling him a couch potato. Now I realize what happened. All right. So most dangerous for me, it's going to be hands down Paul Lee. That promo is fucking fire. Jake, what about you?
Yeah, I think Paulie's the obvious one. I'll give a shout out to Larry and Arn though in the tag match.
Okay, I'll go with that. Logan?
Paul for sure. No doubt.
All right. Schiff, will yours be Rude?
No, it's Paulie. I wanted to say Rude to piss you guys all off, but
it wouldn't piss me off. I don't care.
By the way, it doesn't matter if you picked Larry for least dangerous because majority rules. So what you said means shit. So it doesn't matter.
It's like a Jim Hurd backstage meeting right now.
No, this is me and Schiff every episode because he does it.
There's a lot of tension on that side of the room.
No, Schiff does this to me every episode on purpose. I know what he's doing.
no, I don't. I legit have it down here as that.
There is legit no way. There is legit no way you picked freaking Larry.
Sean needs proof. Damn it.
Yeah, there's no way. There's just
Your seats.
Matt, most dangerous.
Yeah, I went with Paulie. You have to. That promo was batshit insane and great. So.
All right, Schiff, I do love you, by the way.
Love you too, buddy.
All right. On a scale of 1 to 5, rating this journey of the alliance. I'm gonna have to reserve my thought. I'm gonna go with Matt first. Where would you go 1 through 5?
Why the fuck did you come to me?
Because
first?
when I'm unsure of what I'm gonna say, I need to go to someone else first. That's a host privilege.
Oh,
I'll go first. I'll go 3.5.
All right, Schiff, go ahead. 3.5. Why?
We had that great Paul Lee promo, and then he was the most dangerous because he threatened to take out one of the top baby faces in WCW. Now it didn't happen, but it might have happened, as you guys mentioned at the end, when Rude was waylaying Sting and Steamboat with the belt. So, we're seeing how vindictive they can be. He ran down, he called like they were going to cripple a wrestler and called it the Magnum TA Wrestling Retirement Home. Like, goddamn.
That was so good.
But, and then we had the hot 6-man tag match, which I went 3.5 on. And then we had the main event tag match, which, I went 2 3/4, which is nothing to shake a stick at. So, that's why I pump it up to 3.5 because that promo was awesome. And then the other 2 matches.
Oh, and no Medusa. That might knock it up for Logan. So I'm not going to argue with you on that one. All right, Susan, what about you?
I think I'm going to go 3 because I was kind of expecting something pretty good out of that main event, and I just think it was super disappointing. And I know the post-match was pretty well done, but I just think as good as the other stuff was, that main event really dragged it down for me. So I'll go 3 on it.
All right, I think I think you said it perfectly. I think I'm going to go 3 for the same exact reason you stated. So I think I'm at a 3 too.
Oh, thanks for stealing my shit there, Sean.
No, you said it eloquently. I don't think I need to say any more.
That's not a thing I've ever done, but thank you.
No, you said it well. So I'm going 3. Logan, what about you?
I'm gonna go a little lower. I'm gonna go 2.5.
Wow.
I really don't think they pulled through on their promise. And from a Dangerous Alliance perspective, they lost both matches. So I mean, it doesn't really make them look super duper strong.
That's a good point too. That's a good point too.
The only reason I would really go 2.5, I probably would go lower if the Paul E promo hadn't happened. But Paul E's promo was so good that I think it gets those extra points. So I'm gonna go a little lower, but I think they didn't really pull through on their promise to really take out anyone per se. I mean, I guess you could say they did it to Steamboat, but it still seemed kind of weak at the same time. And obviously they lost both matches and kind of didn't look super duper strong and all of it. So yeah, 2.5 for me.
God damn it, Logan made a good point too. All right, Jake, what about you?
I'm going to go with the 3. I think it sort of held serve, or whatever that terminology is. Like, to me, it didn't really amp anything up, but it just kind of kept everything cooking. But it also, like I said, it didn't really take anything to the next level either yet.
Okay. All right, so that wraps up Clash 18, and I believe, if I'm not correct, this is the last Clash that we'll talk about. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that is the final Clash. So any final thoughts? So I'll just go around the horn. So Matt, any final thoughts of this Clash overall in terms of, just like in the realms of Clash, where would you put this? Like, what are your final thoughts on this?
So, like I said, I remember liking the main event a bit more. So the fact that I didn't like it as much this time kind of drops it a little bit. Like, it's still a pretty good show, and like there's solid stuff really throughout it. I mean, look, it has the best Van Hammer match of all time, so that's gonna count for something, right? But like, I think before watching it for this pod, I would probably have it closer to the top. But because I was down on the main event, I think now it probably resides somewhere in the middle. Like, I think the Clash we watched from November '91 was a lot better than this, for sure. So
yeah,
it's somewhere in the middle of the pack, I would think.
For me, I would say it's probably maybe a little bit higher in the middle of the pack, just for the simple reason the opener is probably one of the most underrated that we've ever had. I think the K. Allen Fry, the Jesse Ventura stuff is really good. I think the Van Hammer match is really good. I think the 6-man's really good. So I think there's a lot of moments that are good in this. So I think it's overall a pretty decent Clash overall. Schiff, what about you?
I really enjoyed it. It was a fun watch. I can't wait to see what else is happening, especially with like new head man in charge. And interested to see where it takes us as we begin this new year.
All right, Jake, what about you as far as Clashes go?
Yeah, I think overall it's a pretty good one. I think between, like, even if it wasn't the greatest Dangerous Alliance stuff, I still think it was pretty hot towards the end. The opener's fun. I think there's a lot of, I just felt like the whole energy of this show was kind of a hot show, because you got the K. Allen Fry stuff, you got Jesse coming in, the DA stuff is cooking. To me, it came off as like, I feel like as a whole, we're like moving in a positive direction.
Absolutely. And Logan, wrap us up.
Yeah, definitely a strong Clash. Obviously, like I said earlier, I didn't watch all the matches, but from my memory, I think this ends up being one of those stronger ones for sure. A lot of memorable stuff happens. They announced the title match, the promo from Paul Lee, like we said, and as much as we may have been down on the main event, it was still a good match, and the 6-man was really good. So a very strong Clash, good matches, good moments throughout. But yeah, just a solid showing for sure.
All right, so that wraps us up for Clash 18. Just as a preview, on our next episode, we will look at everything that happens the weekend after this, the weekend of 125 and 126. So, Jake, thanks for joining us tonight. You will be joining us again. I believe it'll be Super Brawl that we will have you on for the next pay-per-view, which is, from what I recall, one of my all-time favorite pay-per-views. So we'll see if that holds up, because I remember that being quite the banger of a show. So, before we go, let's do some plugs. So, Jake, as our guest, anything you would like to plug?
Yeah, you guys all join me on the Ruthlessly Aggressive podcast on the latest episode I believe, when this drops. And we live watched the WrestleMania 19 movie, The Mania of WrestleMania, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So we are all on that with Jake. So thank you for having us. And so, Schiff, what about you?
Yeah, check me out on YouTube Roulette. It's where we all lose our minds on that, except Sean. I do Traders of the Lost Ark with Sean, Tim, and Andy, where we go over comic book arcs. It's a lot of fun. We really nerd out on that. Please check it out. Somehow we went into a deep dive about Jim Shooter on our last episode, and somehow it's going to continue again on our next episode. Spoiler alert. And that can be found on Twitter at Scott_Shiflet.
All right. And Logan? Logan's on mute. Matt?
Jesus God Almighty!
Shit, I'm sorry. I was just talking away. Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead, Matt. Logan.
When Schiff says everybody loses their mind on YouTube Roulette, he means himself. So let's be clear. Let's be clear about that. You can find me on this very feed on the Extreme Three-Way Dance. We're covering ECW. We're currently in 1997, so check that out. That is a great listen, if I may say so myself. You can find me on Twitter at msusan1991.
All right, and Logan.
I'm currently going through a monsoon, so I was trying to kill the background noise by muting myself.
Well,
apparently I didn't unmute myself to
what
speak,
is going on? What is going on with you and Jake tonight with this weather? My God.
I don't know. I don't know. But anyways, I was saying Highway to the Impact Zone. We just did the Against All Odds 2006 live watch. I think most of us, minus Schiff, were there for that one. That was a fun pod to record. I can't wait for everybody to hear it. Starflation and popcorn and Wrestling Chicken Salad are shows that I do with Callum and Ben. Wrestling Chicken Salad is looking at the worst pay-per-views of all time, and then kind of the opposite with Starflation. We're looking at some of the best matches of all time, kind of re-rating those based on the new 7-star scale. And then Who's Next with Andy Atherton. We go through current day NXT. So that's what I got.
Excellent. And for me, obviously, you can find me on here. You can Schiff already brought up Traders of the Lost Ark, the comics pod that I do with him, Tim, and Andy, which is a lot of fun. Even if you don't like comics, you should listen to that one because Tim usually. So we all take turns picking whatever arc we're going to talk about and read. Andy is kind of the comics novice where he doesn't know anything, but Tim kind of takes us and leads us through the story of kind of the story of the story, the writers, the editors, and we learned some batshit crazy stuff. And Tim is an absolutely amazing host when it comes to that kind of stuff. So please give that a listen. And then I was on Andy's first episode of Cartoons of Our Youth, which is going to be an ongoing pod over at the pod feed where I did G.I. Joe with him. We did a live watch of 2 episodes of G.I. Joe. So give that one a listen as well. And I do want to plug that. I do want to plug the WrestleMania movie pod. That was awesome to do with Jake. And I do definitely want to plug the next Impact pod where we did Against All Odds because we had a little mini reunion over there with the originals. And that one's a little bit batshit crazy and should probably never come out. And whenever we
that doesn't sound like us.
Yeah, whenever I say the pod should never come out, that usually means it's probably an all-timer. So definitely give that one a listen. So thank you, gentlemen. As always, we will be back in 2 weeks for episode number 13. And Jake, thanks as always. And we will see you back when we do Super Brawl 92. So again, thanks. And we will see you guys in 2 weeks.
We are stars, we are golden, we are broken-hearted, and we got to get ourselves back to the garden. riding shotgun